It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Rate is going up while crime statistics all over the world are going down because they're taking their criminals and they're putting them into our country, a certain country, and I happen to like the president of that country very much, but he's been getting great publicity because he's a wonderful shepherd of the country. He says how well the country's doing because their crime rate is down, and he said he's training all of these rough people. They're rough. He's training them, and I've been reading about this for 2 years. I think, oh, that's wonderful. Let's take a look at it. But then I realized he's not training them. He's sending all of his criminals, his drug dealers, his people that are in jails, he's sending them all to the United States. And he's different in that he doesn't say that. He's trying to convince everybody what a wonderful job he does in running the country. Well, he doesn't do a wonderful job. And by the way, if I ran one of the countries, many countries from all over, I would be worse than any of them. I would have had the place totally emptied out already. But we become a dumping ground for the rest of the world, which is laughing at us. They think we're stupid, and they can't believe that they're getting away.
Guys, welcome to Simply Bitcoin, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We'll be your guide through the separation of money and state. Trump at the RNC speech yesterday, the first speech he's made since his attempted assassination, criticizing Nayib Bukele, which is very strange because his sons and daughters were at Bukele's inauguration, you know, shot across the bow, of which Bukele responded to, basically accusing Nayib Bukele of exporting some of those gangs out of El Salvador to the United States. From my understanding and from my research, they put him in prison in El Salvador, right? Like a huge percentage of the El Salvadorian population is I think it's like 1% or so is in prison because they were like tied to like gang affiliations, which is why the crime rate went down. This is the first time I've ever heard on any type of media, including independent media, including X, that, you know, the reason that El Salvador lowered its crime rate was because they were exporting the criminals to the United States. Very strange, you know, and especially because Bukele has only talked well about Trump. So I don't know what's going on there. Could it be that they're competing? Could it be that Bukele is taking the limelight from Trump and Trump likes the limelight and now they're like competing for the limelight? I gotta say, I don't like it as much as I've been, you know, pro-Trump, you know, this entire week, of course, because I live in the United States and he's taking a pro-Bitcoin stance. That I did not like whatsoever. Was he talking about another country? Was he talking about, no, I don't think so. Because he says this is a president that I do like. And of course, he's talking about El Salvador. So I don't know what's going on there. Very, very strange part of the speech. Everything else I kind of enjoyed. He did mention inflation. He did mention AI, but he did not mention Bitcoin, which means that Bitcoin is not in the discussion yet. So we still have a tremendous amount of work to do as Bitcoiners to make Bitcoin inflation. And the very idea of central banking, we have to make that part of the political discourse. You know, there's a very famous quote by Andrew Breitbart, which is politics is downstream from culture. We have to win the culture war. And I'm not talking about the culture war that culture war. I'm talking about the fiat versus Bitcoin culture war. But other than that, it was a great speech yesterday at the RNC. Still looking forward to his speech at the Nashville Bitcoin conference next week. We will be in Nashville. We'll be live streaming from Nashville. So looking forward to that speech as well. But I got to say, as a Bitcoiner, as a very, very vocal supporter of Nayib Bukele and what he's done for El Salvador, I was not very happy about his comments in relation to Bukele, but it is what it is. And again, you know, if this is a competition, right? If this is Trump saying, you know, I don't like Bukele taking limelight from me, I want actually Bitcoin and Bitcoin companies to set up shop in the United States. And that's, his motivation. Okay, that's competition. As individuals, we win. We win when nation states are competing for your business. But I don't have enough information. I just want to point that out there because I did not like that whatsoever. Anyways, in today's show, you guys absolutely love it when we talk about this topic. So we're going to talk about it again, which is how much Bitcoin do you need to be in the top 1%? And that varies, right? Is it the top 1% of fiat net worth? Is it the top 1% by age group? Is it the top 1% of the last cycle? Is it the top 1% of this cycle? Is it the top 1% of just the general world, right? So we're going to kind of just go through all this and kind of explore it. How much Bitcoin does it take to be in the top 1%? And because you guys, like I said, really, really enjoy that topic. So we're going to further explore that. Also, in other news as well, Craig Wright, he's been forced to admit publicly that he is a fraud. This is something that he's posted on Twitter. It's that cycle, that circle has been closed. Shout out to Hodlnaut, shout out to Peter McCormack for resisting the lawfare and the character attacks, the private investigators to try to dox the space cat, all of that BS. It is all coming to a close. Craig Wright has been forced to admit that he perjured himself and he forged documents. So I'm glad that saga is finally coming to an end because, man, he was an enemy of Bitcoin and all that it stands for, just going after specific Bitcoiners because of their speech, because they were saying that he's a fraud. Look, everyone should have the right to speak freely. And, the whole thing about freedom of speech is, I might not like what you have to say, but I'll protect your right to say it, right? We have to be okay with that type of world. I believe in that. I welcome criticism. If you hate me, if you dislike me, if you, find something about me funny, then, criticize me on Twitter and, I'll slap back. That's the way things should be. There should be open discourse and discussion. How it works right now, how the legacy media worked and how the government works is this is the official approved narrative and everyone just has to go along with it. Those days are over. The information age is killing that era of history. And of course, Elon, I know as much Bitcoiners are fans of Nostr. I'm a fan of Nostr. I post every day on Nostr. In fact, some of my most personal posts go on Nostr. I didn't even post it on Twitter. So I'm a huge fan of the platform, very, very bullish on it. But the reality is that Twitter has the network effect. And since Elon freed the bird, made it from Twitter and he made it into X, that has done wonders for free speech. And I think that's been incredibly positive for the world. I know a lot of people dislike Elon just because of his shitcoinery and his support for Doge. But yeah, I mean, he did good in that sense, and I think it's two things could be true at the same time. So yeah, packed show today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk first about Trump's accusation against El Salvador and Nayib Bukele. We'll kind of explore to it. Beauty on had a great post. And of course, we'll also talk about, how much Bitcoin it takes to be in the 1%. Overall, it's going to be a loaded show. And of course, it's the Friday show, baby. So we're going to have the meme review. That's a fan favorite. And Opti's got those memes lined up, guys. So Opti, did you manage to catch the speech last night, or was that the first time? Okay. And what's your
literally
take on
was
that?
the first time I've seen an RNC.
It was the first time. It was the first time I've ever seen an RNC thing, and I think it had to do with the attempted assassination attempt. From the fiat political sense, it felt really good. As Bitcoiners, we're one step ahead, right? Because we're not just looking at it like, oh my God, this guy's going to come in and just save the thing. It's this guy's going to come in, let Bitcoin thrive, let Bitcoin do its thing. But like I've said earlier on the week, the end goal here is ending the Federal Reserve. That is the root cause of a lot. That is the root cause of a lot of these problems, right? So, I see Trump as a means to that end. But when he goes out there, like all the good of that speech, it was a very good speech and made me feel something as an American. As soon as he criticized El Salvador as a Bitcoiner, I'm just kind of like, what's going on there, bro? So what's your take on that, Opti?
Well, I don't have anything to reference RNC presidential acceptance speech, so I can't really compare it to something in the past. But overall, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a mid speech, to be honest. Like there was a lot of, it was a good rhetoric, but it just didn't seem like it had too much weight to it. Though there was a lot of conversation about energy and of course inflation and like bringing the prices down and hopefully building up a better economy, which is obviously right now one of the biggest polling, what do you call it? Concerns, issues right now, is everyone's realizing the economy is absolutely wrecked. I think though, without falling into the left versus right dichotomy, I think it's very obvious that Trump would be better than the Biden administration at this point. So on that note, I kind of think it's a no-brainer if you're a Bitcoiner and you still do vote. But that quote right there, that little part of the speech on seemingly dunking on El Salvador seemed kind of strange. And then I don't know if you're going to pull up Nayib Bukele's tweet, but
I will.
So we'll talk about it later. But I don't have anything really to compare it to, though. I don't know. I was kind of hoping for like a funnier, more energetic Trump, but it seemed since
He's changed.
Since he, had an attempt on his life, he seemed a little more somber. But I think it does lead to this idea of like being a strong leader, being a little more humbled, talking slower, and having a little more conviction in what he's saying. Hopefully this is where it's going. But, what do I know? I really didn't think there was too much meat in that conversation. Again, I'm not the most political person. It's the first RNC I've ever seen. But it's going to be interesting seeing what the Democratic National Convention will look like and sound like, considering it sounds like maybe Biden is dropping out now. So I don't know what's going on with that. Apparently we might get news over the weekend about it. So things are getting a little weird. All of this talk from the legacy media about a threat to democracy seems like it's coming from the left now, considering that the populace won't even be able to vote for who their presidential candidate will be.
Isn't that strange, right?
Isn't it strange? Things that make you say, Anyways, we'll talk about this all in the show. What we're going to talk about in the culture today is about this global outage we saw this morning. A bunch of airlines and banks. And
do you have the Cynthia Lummis tweet pulled up?
I don't, but I can pull it up. But it does kind of remind me of a lot of pre-programming we've seen in the last couple of years about cyber attacks, or what was it called? Cyber Polygon or something like that. But this is a Bitcoin show. And we have been talking about nodes this week. So this is a perfect way to put a bow tie on that conversation, especially just the very unoriginal thought and idea of just how incredible it is that Bitcoin is operational, given the fact that all these computers have brick today. Bitcoin is the most resilient asset, network, and software ever created. And I checked my node this morning, and my node is still running. Shouts out to FOSS and open source software. And the fact that, there is no pushes on updates in nodes. And this is why I harped so hard yesterday on this idea of you guys running your own nodes, because, again, if you run the software, this won't happen to you. This is open source software. You don't have to update your node if you don't want to. You don't get random updates that will break the whole network. Like, this is the importance of running a node. And now we have a real-time example of this happening, and of course not Bitcoin, but in the world at large. And so this is the culture, and this is what we're talking about. And yeah, man, it seems a little fishy considering all the conversations we've heard from the World Economic Forum about cyber attacks. So was this a test? Was this a quote unquote just a bad update? I don't know. I got some videos and some takes from Bitcoiners, and I think we're gonna have a good combo. And I do have memes. I was gonna joke about not having memes, but no, I got memes. So I'll make my thing short, and then hopefully we get to the memes today, guys.
We always got memes. All right, everybody. Before we jump to the show, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 US states. It is the best place to buy your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address. Literally, it takes 1 or 2 minutes to sign up. And of course, it's an automatic self-custody Bitcoin platform. That means that as soon as your funds clear, your Bitcoin goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. You can't leave it on the platform. That perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. By the way, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you can use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. We're going to do the one right now. And you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. So let's throw a coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well. We'll flick a coin in there. And first person to scan the QR code won 500 sats. If you use the promo code simplybtc when you sign up to Bitcoin Well, you'll get 3 tosses for free on the house to the Bitcoin Wishing Well for an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. Guys, support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps, because remember, self-custody is the revolution. Check out bitcoinwell.com today. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, everybody, you want to keep your generational wealth, you got to check out Stamp Seed. Stamp, I said stamp, not write down. Don't write down your seed phrase. Stamp your seed phrase onto titanium. Get yourself a Stamp Seed storage kit. Use promo code SIMPLY. Get 15% off anything on their website. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 66,470. Sats per dollar, 1,504. Block height, 852,902. Blocks to halving, 197,098. Halving estimate, March 28, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 5,092 BTC, roughly 338 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.51%. Market capitalization, 3.31 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.88%. In the grand scheme of things, we're just getting started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this, because I got to say, big fan of Trump, obviously, because he's been pro Bitcoin. And of course, they try to assassinate him. I truly believe it's because he's been against the globalist. He's a populist. And of course, I think Bitcoin and populism go hand in hand. So I got to say, quite disappointed when he's criticizing another world leader that has been pro-Bitcoin and much more pro-Bitcoin than Trump has, because Bukele went out of his way to make Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador and not help or allow any shitcoinery to thrive in the country. So not to mention the fact, as a Latin American myself, watching what Bukele has done to El Salvador has been inspiring. I think it's been, inspiring for the region. I think it makes El Salvadorians something to be proud of. As a Latin American, I feel proud of what Bukele has done in El Salvador. And visiting the country, I see the hope in people. I talked to so many people while I was down there, so many locals. I'm a native Spanish speaker, so I went out of my way to don't trust, verify, and I can tell you for a fact that Bitcoin usage might not be mainstream in El Salvador, but you can definitely feel that people feel hope and optimism about the future. So yeah, I'm quite disappointed that Trump went out of his way to criticize El Salvador. And what's really interesting too, ladies and gentlemen, is, you have where I'm from, you have a lot of people from Venezuela, crossing the southern border. You have a lot of people from other countries crossing the southern border. Why was it that he focused on El Salvador? Because El Salvador, I would say, is the shining country on a hill in Latin America. What's going on there? Could it be that Trump is jealous of Nayib Bukele's success, of his limelight, of the positive coverage on him? I saw Nayib Bukele do an interview with Tucker, and Nayib Bukele gave Trump great advice, right, on how to win the election. So I don't get what the beef there. Also, Trump's kids were at Nayib Bukele's inauguration. So strange. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so here's the post. Trump's accusation sparks debate over El Salvador's progress. Former U.S. President Donald Trump accused El Salvador President Nayib Bukele of sending the country's worst criminals to the United States, a claim that has been widely criticized and refuted by various sources. I agree. I've never, and guys, I do a lot of research. It's my job, right? Whether it's from the legacy media or from Bitcoin Twitter and independent media, I haven't seen anything to back that up. Anyways, while Trump's statement has been met with criticism, the accuracy of his claims remain unsubstantiated. Bukele's supporters emphasize the positive changes in El Salvador under his leadership, but the lack of evidence supporting Trump's accusation raises questions about its validity. And I agree. And again, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. The world is not black and white. It's full of grays, right? So two things could be true. Trump being elected in the United States could be very positive for the Bitcoin industry in the US. And also Nayib Bukele, doing what he's doing in El Salvador is very positive for the Bitcoin movement worldwide and in El Salvador. So two of those things could be true at the same time. While at the same time, Trump, going out of his way to criticize Nayib Bukele. Now, Nayib Bukele responded to this because, of course, everyone was watching this speech. And Nayib Bukele said, taking the high road. Here's our boy, Javier Bastardo. And he said, I would expect him to set the record straight, to be honest. It's too weird to talk about El Salvador in that way, especially when his son and some other reps come to your inauguration. And a lot of people are basically saying he's talking about Venezuela, which is maybe he confused the countries. But again, I'm positive that Trump wasn't talking about the president of Venezuela, because I know he doesn't like Maduro. So I know he was talking about Bukele. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, here is Beauty On's take. And he says, if you think the baseless attacks on El Salvador are bad now, just wait until that country becomes the center of all Bitcoin activity in world e-commerce. Every conceivable and inconceivable lie will be told against El Salvador and its righteous government as it begins to rise and completely eclipse the collapsing Western democracies. El Salvador has already beaten Western countries for safety statistics, and this is an affront to Westerners who are jealous of President Nayib Bukele and his popularity and the success of El Salvador and its spectacular comeback story and safety. Bear in mind also, through being first, any country that comes after with Bitcoin adoption and rational criminal reform will be copying President Nayib Bukele's El Salvador miracle, and by dint of this, a follower nation. These are plain facts. Whether or not you like them, they are true. El Salvador is a leader nation, not a follower nation. And leader nations go and come first, and no amount of rah-rah rhetoric can change these facts. If you want to be first, you have to go first. You can't expect everyone in the world to wait for permission to do things from America. Those days are over. It's not the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s anymore. And going first doesn't mean getting computer illiterate crony capitalists, buggy whip manufacturers to regulate how the automobile should be regulated. But it gets worse. Now Trump is considering notorious Luddite and anti-Bitcoiner Jamie Dimon for Treasury Secretary after a Love Fest CEO meeting. What a pathetic joke. Jamie Dimon, if dropped into this appointment, will be the first to start Saul of Damascus level anti-Bukele, anti-Bitcoin propaganda and attack from inside the Trump White House, further crippling America's chance of dominance. You could see it coming a mile away. Steve Mnuchin was Treasury Secretary when Geo POTUS was POTUS. Apparently, he stopped Trump from going after Bitcoin after having had it explained to him. Nice job, Steve. He's not too bright, however, despite being fractionally better than others and way better than digital dullard Diamond. The euphoria doesn't last long in the 2020s, does it? And you know what? Beauty On, I know, is also a supporter of Trump, big fan of Trump. But again, when you see a drop ball like that, and Beauty On did mention jealousy, but Beauty On, I think, pointed it out when he said, you know, Trump can't say that he's now the first president to, you know, stomp out this crime wave. Nayib Bukele is the first president. So does it come from that? It might, right? But I gotta say, I was quite disappointed, and you know, it's not cool. But at the same time, like, look at all the progress that El Salvador is making, right? Like, it doesn't surprise me either, you know. And in regards to Jamie Dimon, we were talking about this actually on yesterday's show. Yeah, I mean, you see already Donald Trump providing cover for Jamie Dimon, going on the Forbes article and saying actually he's had a change of heart on Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing. I think Trump finds himself in a difficult spot because now that he's taking massive donations from our industry, you know, he has to have some type of loyalty towards the industry as well, right? Or he'll make his donors pretty upset, not to mention a big part of his voter base. So, you know, if Trump decides to go with Jamie Dimon, you know, again, some donors might get upset, but it's not a good sign. Again, this criticism of this unwarranted criticism of El Salvador. And again, you know, like as Beauty On was pointing out, it was coming from a place of, you know, perhaps jealousy, perhaps, you know, just perhaps wanting to be first and now knowing that you can't be first. Because El Salvador was first to the punch. But anyways, another news as well. This, I just find it beautiful. We coined the term that there's a law of politician and central banker projection. It's unbreakable. Everything that they accuse Bitcoin of, they are guilty of themselves. And ladies and gentlemen, here's Senator Menendez. Senator Menendez was basically accusing El Salvador of laundering money and, you know, criminal activity because of the Bitcoin law. And it's absolutely hilarious and poetic in a way that same senator who called Bitcoin the ideal choice for criminals is convicted of bribery after they found giant wads of cash and literal gold bars in his Mercedes Benz, which I find absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that the potential future president of the United States and some of the politicians in the United States are so hell bent on attacking. There it is, iron law of projection. So hell bent on attacking El Salvador. You know what that tells me? That El Salvador is over the target, baby. Whatever Nayib Bukele is doing, keep doing it, man. Keep doing it, Mr. President, because obviously it's working. If it wasn't working, then you wouldn't have these attacks from the left and the right in the United States if Nayib Bukele's strategies were not working. So yes, as someone who's pro-Trump and his policy, I got to emphasize enough. Loved his speech last night, but was very, very disappointed when he singled out El Salvador and Nayib Bukele with his comments. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, so I stand corrected. I guess I misremembered. I thought it was a little more vague, but he even played it in the beginning. I guess I'm still asleep. This coffee isn't kicking in. Yeah, this seems like a weird step. I really liked Beauty On's take on this, considering that Beauty On is a huge Donald Trump fan. And I think as a Bitcoiner, it's very important for us to, even if you are embracing someone, it's important to, you know, be critical on everything that they're doing and not having blind faith in everything that a politician tells us.
Ron's talking shit about me. I think if Nico ever figured out how to say it, dude, I could say El Salvador. If you want me to say it in Spanish, I can say it perfectly, bro. Okay.
Say it in English.
El Salvador. But but that's not how you say it. You say El Salvador, which is the actual name. But I'm trying to make it easy for you guys. All right,
wait,
Ron,
case in point.
I'm gonna use the actual name now. I'm not gonna try to make it easy.
Case in point.
Anything you do, they criticize you for it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Case in point, it's good to be critical, and I think as Bitcoiners, it's important for us to stay critical and not just blindly trust, people that say good things about Bitcoin. So, I think this is healthy. This is healthy for the US. And of course, this should be the case with other countries as well. Like we've seen in different parts of the world that you literally can't say anything about your government, or they'll, ostracize you, kick you off the banking system, lock you up in jails. At least we still have that freedom of speech here in the US. Obviously, he's not president, and when we'll cross that road when we get there. But that was a weird tangent in that speech. But going to the Menendez story, you just gotta love it. I absolutely love the Iron Law of projection.
Iron Law.
It is the funniest thing ever.
I stole it from the Iron Law of woke projection, which is like so on point. And I started noticing the pattern with Iron Law of politician and central banker projection as it relates to Bitcoin. Anything they accuse Bitcoin of, they are guilty of themselves, which is just absolutely hilarious. And then I see some people in the comments like Ron, he's basically saying like, Nico, you should say, you know how obnoxious that is? I hate it in a conversation when someone's talking about like a Latin American country and they're just speaking in an English accent and they're like Guatemala,
El Salvador.
like it's kind of obnoxious when people say it's like Guatemala, right? Or like when it's because it's like a change in tune.
Look, I can barely speak Spanish and I still do it.
It's like a bit elitist. It's like, oh yeah, so I went to Venezuela, the other day. Like that's like it's like, okay, cool, bro. You can pronounce it. I don't know.
All right. Enough tangent. Nico triggered in the chat. The Menendez thing is hilarious. Like, what do we always say here on the show?
Have you been to El Salvador?
I have been to El Salvador. All right. Let's get back to Menendez. It is so funny to me that, we say it every day. Bitcoin has a way of exposing people's incentives. And usually the people that come out the hardest against Bitcoin are the very people that are doing the stuff that they project on Bitcoin. And it's just awesome that we see this happen. I don't know the time frame, but I'm pretty sure it was last year of him, shitting on Bitcoin and Bitcoiners in general. And now, 1 year later, he's in trouble for doing the very thing he told us that we were doing. So I just love to see it. And it seems like the lag between the lies and reality are becoming shorter and shorter. And I think this is a good thing. And we've been talking about this all week in regards to Larry Finks and Jamie Dimons, and we've been covering it on the show for a long time about the corporate press, where their lies just don't have the weight anymore. And the reality of the situation is starting to be exposed for more and more people. Us Bitcoiners have been ahead of this for a long time, but now their lies, they can't get away with it. And I think this is a good thing of the media smashing down into reality so more people can see what's actually happening in the world versus believing all the propaganda and the lies. So, I love to see these kind of stories come out because it just proves that the people, quote unquote, the people in power, the people that are the most legit in the world are really the biggest criminals in the world. So, hey, winning so hard. This is the best timeline ever.
Dude, see, no, I know it's the best. It's the best timeline ever. But like everyone's just talking about the thing. I'm telling you, it's such like a weird thing. Like maybe it's like a pet peeve, bro. But like anyways, okay. Before we move on to the next topic, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Nashville, guys. It's gonna be absolutely bonkers. It is literally less than a week away. It's July 25th, so it's Thursday of next week. If you're going to the Bitcoin 2024 conference, the one that Trump's going to be speaking at, Saylor, all these all-stars, you definitely don't want to miss this party. It's a 12-hour open bar. That means that the drinks and food are included in the ticket. It's from noon to midnight in Nashville, Tennessee, July 25th. Confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnip, Adam O'Brien, It's going to be hosted in an amazing rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. The last pleb party in Miami was sold out 8 days before. Over 1,000 Bitcoiners are expected to be attending. So you definitely don't want to miss the pleb party in Nashville, Tennessee. Get your tickets now before they sell out. All right, everybody, let's hit the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody, I made it, and Abdi did not change the QR code. There we go. I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You can use promo code SIMPLY and you'll get a discount to the Passport hardware wallet. I saw it was a message or a DM the other day. They're like, Nico, I don't know how to set this up. They actually offer a concierge service. So like they will literally walk you through setting up your cold storage wallet. You literally have no excuse not to take self-custody of your Bitcoin at this point. So guys, get yourself a Passport by Foundation Devices. Use promo code SIMPLY. You get yourself a nice little discount. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. First, it's a little bit of a victory lap. Craig Wright referred to UK prosecutors for consideration of perjury and forgery charges. Today, a verdict was handed down against Craig Wright in the Copa versus CSW trial. Judge Miller ruled that Wright's behavior warrants a referral to the Crown Prosecutor's Service for a possible criminal investigation on charges of perjury and forgery of documents. The judge underscored that the gravity of Wright's actions and false statements could lead to an arrest warrant or extradition. Wright will also be barred from initiating further legal proceedings in any jurisdiction to relitigate his claim of being Satoshi Nakamoto. Quote, I have no doubt that I should refer the relevant papers in this case to the CPS for consideration of whether a prosecutor should be condemned against Dr. Wright for his whole-scale perjury and forgery of documents, or whether a warrant for his arrest should be issued, or whether his extradition should be sought from wherever he now is. All those matters are to be decided by the CPS. So here's Cobra. The Bitcoin white paper is now, this is a huge win, bro. Hell yes. The Bitcoin white paper is now available for people in the UK to read freely once again. The default judgment obtained fraudulently by Craig Wright has been overturned. Thank you to everyone who helped, right? So this is a big win. By the way, I suggest anyone, if you have a website, host the Bitcoin white paper on that website. If you go to Bitcoin, you go to my website, bitvault.com, you'll see Bitcoin white paper is hosted on that freaking website. So host the white paper on your website. Let it, this is you can't stop us. It's everywhere. This idea, it's everywhere. It's spread like a virus. It's all over the place. And the Bitcoin white paper, it's only 9 pages, and it's like I would say it's as important of a document as the U.S. Constitution in terms of humanity's continued fight and continued pursuit of freedom, right? And I think that if the founding fathers had Bitcoin when they wrote the Constitution, it would have been part of the Constitution, right? But they didn't have it back then. So maybe Bitcoin is the last part of, the last part that America needs in order to really fulfill its original vision that this country was based upon before being, taken over by the central banking system, which we are going to take down. peacefully. Anyways, so that being said, let's talk about how much Bitcoin it takes to be in the
wait,
1%.
Nico, before you go on, I just want to say to Craig Wright, welcome to law. I'd love to see this. Keep it going.
Mic drop. Love it. Okay, so you guys absolutely love this topic. I love talking about this topic too. So let's talk about this topic. It is Friday, so we're gonna start with a meme. This is the Citadel, right? And kind of breaks it down into kind of like the tiers of Bitcoin, of how much Bitcoin you need to be in the different tiers. And let's start with the very bottom, right? The no coiner is just a melting face. $100 the rope, $1,000 0.001 the rope, the 0.01 the cope, the 0.1 the hope, the 0.5 the suicide stack, 1 BTC, the break it, 5 BTC, the make it, between 5 BTC and 10 BTC, the generational wealth, 10 BTC, the dukes, 50 BTC, the kings, 100 BTC, between the kings and the emperors, 500 BTC, the emperors, 1,000 BTC, and then these two twins up top with 10,000 BTC, the Chad sailors and such. And here's like the Pepe frog. The year of 2028 of the second age, one Bitcoin is now worth 1 million USD adjusted for inflation. I really, really kind of enjoyed that. Here's like another meme before we move on to the next part. And this, I think, is more adjusted towards this epoch. That meme was created in the earlier epochs when obviously Bitcoin was a lot cheaper. So I like this one too. On the bottom, debt slave. It's so true. Dust or no sats. The Bitcoin pleb, less than 0.01 BTC. The Bitcoin soldier, 0.01 to 0.25 BTC. The Bitcoin mercenary, 0.25 to 0.5 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin yeoman, 0.5 to 1 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin knight, 1 to 3 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin baron, 3 to 10 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin lord, 10 to 20.99 Bitcoin. And then the Bitcoin king, 21 Bitcoin or above. So moving on to the next bit, I think this has been one of the most accurate. There's no way to know that, so just scratch what I just said. But I think that this has been one of the charts that I think has helped me kind of break this down in terms of how much Bitcoin it takes to be in the 1%. And it breaks it down by the number of Bitcoin holders and the amount. So obviously let's start with what it takes to be in the top 50%. So it takes about 0.37 Bitcoin, 0.037 to be in the top 20%. It takes about 0.56 Bitcoin to be in the top 10%. It takes about 1.28 Bitcoin to be in the top 5%. It takes about 4 Bitcoin to be in the top 4%, 5.4 to be in the top 3, 7.44 to be in the top 2, 10.56 to be in the top 1% takes 15. To be in the top 0.1%, it takes 89. To be in the 0.03%, it takes 215. To be in the 0.01% takes about 433. To be in the 0.0003% takes about 2,189 BTC. To be in the top 0.001% takes about 7,000.
Hey, Nico, the chat's asking if you can zoom in on those numbers a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Here you go. I hope this is useful for you guys. And then it also kind of breaks down how much people are in these categories, right? So in the 1%, there's about 225,000 people in that category. In the 0.1%, there's only about 17,000. That's at about an NBA arena filled with people. So it's really, in the grand scheme of things, not that many people. In the top 0.03%, there's only about 5,000 people. In the top 0.01%, there's only about 1,700 people. In the top 0.003%, there's only about 500 people. And the top 0.001%, there's only about 250 people. So, as you could tell, it just gets, the lower amount of people as it goes higher amount of Bitcoin required to kind of fit into those categories. And just to kind of give you guys an idea, also, I think this is something to keep in mind, right? We always hear about the ETFs and these businesses and the governments, like, oh my God, they have so much Bitcoin. But remember, Bitcoin started as a grassroots movement, started from the bottom up. Satoshi didn't hit up Jamie Dimon and said, yo, Jamie, I got some special deal for you, bro. I got some, early Bitcoin. You're going to get it cheap. No. It was individuals. It was individuals that sacrificed their CPU power initially to support the Bitcoin network when Bitcoin was worth nothing. And those individuals were rewarded the most, rightly so, right? And the bulk majority of Bitcoin is actually held by, you guessed it, individuals. So almost 12 million Bitcoin out of the 21 million is held by individuals. Only 758,000 is held by businesses. Even with the ETFs going bananas and ape shit going into Bitcoin, they still only hold about 818,000 Bitcoin. Governments hold about 500,000. So bullish on that number. But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the people buying Bitcoin right now are the businesses, the ETFs, and the government. So if you're selling Bitcoin right now, you're selling it to them. We want more Bitcoin in the hands of individuals, and of course, the miners, rightly so, own about 714,000 Bitcoin, and Satoshi holds about 1 million Bitcoin. But I personally, this is my belief. I could be completely wrong here. I don't think those coins are ever going to move. I think those keys were lost a long time ago. And of course, it's estimated that between 3 and 4 million Bitcoin is lost and gone forever. So especially in the early days when just people didn't think it was worth anything. Here is, what did I do? Okay, here. Here is Glassnode, and kind of break it down, and also break it down by individual cohorts. And I'm going to also connect this with the ultra high net worth individual conversation. So an ultra high net worth individual is defined as someone who, it's kind of changed as of late, but it's defined as someone who has a net worth of between $30 and $50 million. And when Bitcoin reaches 1 million, the percentage of ultra high net worth individuals that are going to be Bitcoiners is actually going to be quite high. It's going to be like 30 to 40% of the population, of the ultra high net worth population. And if you break it down, right, so you just kind of add all these numbers up, it roughly gives you about 25,000 people in this category of people that own 50 Bitcoin or more. So once Bitcoin hits $1 million, it's about 25,000 people that are going to be worth $50 million or more that are going to be Bitcoiners. I'm very bullish on that number because ultra high net worth people are the people that influence politics. They influence the world. Currently, it's the Quintillionaire Conference in Davos with the quintillionaires, of course, that have benefited from the fiat system. As Bitcoin continues to grow, it's going to be Bitcoiners that are going to be influencing world politics and all that. So so just kind of give it a breakdown. Humpback whales, there's only you need 5,000 Bitcoin to fit into that category. There's only roughly 220 individuals, according to this Glassnode data. A whale is defined as someone between 1,000 to 5,000 Bitcoin. There's roughly only 2,000 people in that category. A shark is someone between 500 to 1,000 Bitcoin. There's roughly 1,500 people that fit into that category. A dolphin is someone between 100 and 500 Bitcoin. There's only about 10,000 people that fit into that category. A fish is someone who has 50 to 100 Bitcoin. There's only about 11,000 people that fit into that category. An octopus is someone who has 10 to 50 Bitcoin. Roughly 72,000 people fit into that category. A crab is someone who between a 1 Bitcoin and 10 Bitcoin. There's roughly about 500,000 people that fit into that category. And a shrimp is someone who has less than 1 Bitcoin. There's roughly about 22 million people that fit into that category, according to the Glassnode data. Now, this is what I was talking about in regards to the Glassnode data, and just kind of the rankings, right? Credit Suisse, again, defines someone with an ultra high net worth as someone who has $50 million or above. So again, once Bitcoin reaches these levels, big percentage of that is going to be Bitcoiners. Now, what is your wealth bracket denominated in Bitcoin? Here is River. They kind of put together this nice little chart, and it breaks it down by age group, right? So how much Bitcoin do you need to be in the top 1%? based on your age. And of course, this is in fiat prices. So what they took is they took fiat and they said, okay, this is the fiat price. This is how much your net worth needs to be in fiat terms to be in these top brackets, right? So someone who is in the top 1% in the United States is someone defined with a wealth of about between 10 to 12 million dollars USD. If you have a net worth of that, you're considered to be in the top 1% in the United States. But of course, that varies by age, right? Someone who is older has obviously had more time to accumulate wealth than someone who is younger. So we're going to go through kind of the age groups let's start with the top 10%, and then we'll move on to the top 1%. So between the ages of 18 and 24 to be in the top 10% of Bitcoin holders, you need about 2.689 Bitcoin. To be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders in the age group of 18 to 24, you need about 9.5 Bitcoin. In the ages of 25 to 29, to be in the top 10%, you need 4.3 Bitcoin. To be in the top 1% between the ages of 25 to 29, you need about 30.924 Bitcoin. In the ages of 30 to 34, you need about 7.8852 to be in the top 10%. To be in the top 1%, you need about 38.429% to be in the top 1% of the 30 to 34 age group. In the 35 to 39, you need 12.597 Bitcoin to be in the top 10%. And to be in the top 1%, you need about 69 to be in the top 1% of the 35 to 39. 40 to 44, you need 17 to be in the top 10%. You need 114 to be in the top 1%. 45 to 49, you need 20 to be in the top 10%. You need 126 to be in the top 1%. In 50 to 54, you need 37 to be in the top 10%. You need 192 to be in the top 1%. 55 to 59, you need 38 to be in the top 10%. You need 224 to be in the top 1%. 60 to 64, you need 44 to be in the top 10. And you need 260 to be in the top 1%. 65 to 69, you need 43 to be in the top 10%. You need 322 to be in the top 1%. 70 to 74, you need 43 to be in the top 10%. You need 273 to be in the top 1%. 75, you need 42 to be in the top 10%. You need 289 to be in the top 1%. And 80 plus, you need 37 to be in the top 10%. And you need 236 to be considered in the top 1%. So again, a variety of different data, kind of laying it out for you guys. But what I will say, right, is if you have one Bitcoin, I like that, that British HODL thing that he does. If you have one Bitcoin, I think you are in an elite group. If Hal Finney's prediction comes true of $1 million Bitcoin, $10 million Bitcoin, I think more than one Bitcoin is going to be more than enough, in my humble opinion. So I think you need to get to one Bitcoin. And the meme last cycle with American HODL was 6.15 eternal riches, big things. I think it was feasible, when the Bitcoin prices were in the 10Ks and 3,500s, right? But now that Bitcoin's in the 66,365, not that many people have that type of purchasing power to get 6.15. So I would say try to get to one Bitcoin, especially if you're new. Do whatever it takes. I think you will have a couple of years where it's going to range in this price. I think we'll, maybe we'll top out in the couple $100,000 range, but we will come back down. So you will have the next, I would say, next 2-3 years at this kind of range, plus or minus, probably more on the upside, where you'll have an opportunity to stack to one and do whatever you have to do in order to try to get to one Bitcoin. Because I think with one Bitcoin, you'll be fine. I think you'll be more than fine, in my humble opinion. So anyways, I know you guys love this type of content, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. We try to do it at least once a month, and we'll take a different angle every single time. But I hope you guys found that valuable. Anyways, Opti, what do you think?
Well, I heard a lot of numbers, Nico, and I am a keep it simple, stupid kind of guy. And I am still convinced that if you hold one coin, which is starting to become,
I agree,
unfeasible for a lot of people, then you will be in the upper echelons of wealth in the entire world. Do we know how long this is going to take? No idea. But if you just simply break down the math, 21 million Bitcoin, about 8 billion people. Someone do the quick math for me. It's a pretty low percentage of the total population. And so right now, like you were saying, I think it's super important for people out there, especially if they're new entrants, or maybe you've been in Bitcoin for a couple of years. It's very important to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. As I say all the time, we are playing Hungry Hippo. We are playing Pac-Man here with Bitcoin. The name of the game is accumulation. You want to hold on to this Bitcoin for as long as you can. Live below your means, save Bitcoin, and, in a decade or two, I think you will be in a very, very good position. As Kaiser always says, he who owns the Bitcoins makes the rules. So I think, just very simply, Bitcoin is the best money in the world right now. They can print dollars to infinity. There is a hard cap on Bitcoin. So I'm still convinced that a lot of us Bitcoiners aren't bullish enough, especially the last 4 years, this crabby, bull market scene we've been in. We didn't really even get a full bull market last cycle. And I think we all kind of have some PTSD, and where we don't want to get too bullish, because we don't want to get can I even say it? We don't want to get blue balled. We're all sitting here like, man, we didn't get the price pump we thought we would the last time it pumped. And so we're all kind of underestimating where the price is going. There's the memes of diminishing returns. But on a long enough time frame, if you own one Bitcoin, I'm convinced that you will be holding an incredible amount of wealth. And to people that, never think they can get to one Bitcoin, I think any of the sats that you hold today long term, as you continue to accumulate, will be worth a lot more than they are today. As CK always says, none of us are bullish enough. 37 sats is generational wealth. So really, when you get down to the numbers, on a long enough time frame, as our boy Chris was saying last week in regards to people stack shaming themselves, in 100 years, one sat's going to be the block reward. And if you do some simple math of what the block reward is today, then you can kind of speculate on how much a single sat will be worth in the future. And I am just convinced it's gonna be an incredible amount. It's going to be exponential amount of gains compared to what we are seeing today. And I think we are all, as much as Bitcoiners, we love to say that we need to lower our time preference. We're still like, man, why isn't Bitcoin $1 million in fiat terms today? We're all like, man, just get there. Just please get there. I'm tired of being a wage cuck. I'm tired of being in the fiat matrix. I want to get rich now, because we all know, as the meme goes, like, money doesn't buy you happiness, but hey, I've never seen an unhappy person on a jet ski. So money does improve your life. It's not going to make you a better person if you're empty and hollow inside, and having more money won't fix that. But if you hodl these sats, it will build character. So continue to stack sats. And again, just simple math, 21 million divided by 8 billion people. If you hold a coin, I think even if you hold half a coin, I think the math is still in your favor, and you will be in the upper echelons of wealth moving forward. So I think us Bitcoiners just need to kind of relax a little bit and hodl our sats.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, man. I completely agree. Get yourself to one Bitcoin. It's really as simple as that. I agree with British hodl in that sense. Just do whatever it takes to get yourself to one Bitcoin, and you will you're running out of time. Because it's just going to be progressively harder and harder.
Hustle and grind to one coin.
I had oh man, how do I say this? I had a lot more. I've had as I've gotten older, I've had more purchasing power, right? As your career continues to develop. But I've never been able to stack as much as I was able to stack when I had less purchasing power. Back when the price of Bitcoin was, $600, $1,000. It's just because it just gets progressively more expensive. So let that be a lesson, right? Like just, you know, try to get to 1 Bitcoin. That's like, you know, do whatever it takes. And your life will get better for it. And I think it's like you get to 1 Bitcoin and you wait, you know, 5 years, 10 years, like you're going to be really, 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 really happy you did. Here's a comment from the Future Anarchy. Says only 0.1% of the world holds Bitcoin and only 0.0125% of the world owns 1 or more Bitcoin. That's a really good point, right? Anyways, everybody, let's get to the culture. Lots to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
Everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 11,178 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. If you don't know any Bitcoiners that are near you, and you move to a new city, or you're traveling, the Orange Pill app will literally allow you to connect with the Bitcoiners that are near you. It has a really cool geographical feature, allow you to DM them, and you connect with fellow Bitcoiners. Stack friends who stack sats. One of the best ways to reach me. I don't really answer Twitter DMs or email, flooded with messages these days. But if you want to reach me, send me a DM on the Orange Pill app and I will get back to you. If you're going to Nashville next week and you don't know any of the side events, the Orange Pill app is a great resource for finding out the latest and greatest events, Bitcoin events near you. So guys, download the freaking Orange Pill app today. It's awesome. It's dope. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody. Opti, what do you have for us today, my friend?
Well. Interesting times we live in. And apparently this morning we had a global outage because of a bad update. So we're going to talk about this. And of course, we're going to bring this and wrap this around into Bitcoin, because I have been talking about nodes. And hey, you know, Bitcoin didn't stop. Bitcoin has the best uptime period. And I checked my node this morning. Hey, Bitcoin's still running. Who would have guessed? Who would have knew that decentralization in Bitcoin and open source software for the win? Anyways, I'm over here on Reuters for the audio listeners, and we got an article here just kind of covering some of the stuff that's happening. So global tech outage disrupts industries and highlights online risk. And I'm going to wrap this into a lot of the pre-programming we've seen in the last couple of years. So again, some highlights. CrowdStrike software updates trigger outages for Microsoft users. CrowdStrike ranks amongst leading global cybersecurity firms, lol. Wide range of industries affected. Companies reporting restored services after outages, and CrowdStrike shares fall. Cybersecurity rivals gain. So a worldwide tech outage this morning crippled industries from travel to finance on Friday before services started coming back online after hours of disruption, highlighting the risk of a global shift towards digital interconnected technologies. I'm not going to read the whole article, just kind of highlight some of the industries that did get affected. So we have CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz said on social media platform X that a defect was found in a single content update for Windows hosts that affected Microsoft's customers, and that a fix was being deployed. Microsoft later said it was fixed. So just going down this article a little bit, just kind of highlighting what happens when you push an update that has a bug and messes up the global interconnected digital internet world we live in. So early on Friday, major U.S. airlines, American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United Airlines grounded flights, while other carriers and airports around the world reported delays and disruptions. Banks and financial services companies from Australia to India and Germany warned customers of disruptions, and traders across markets spoke of problems executing transactions. A quote here from one trader: "We are having the mother of all global market outages. In Britain, booking systems used by doctors were offline." Multiple reports posted on X by medical officials said, while Sky News, one of the country's major news broadcasts, was taken off air and apologized for being unable to transmit live. And the last little highlight, even government agencies were affected by this because apparently everyone's running Windows. Amazing. So, you know, just doubling down, getting some takes from Bitcoiners. My boy Ben the Carman goes, "Why is so much infrastructure using Windows?" And there's this clip from Disclosed TV of Sky News. They literally like recorded an update from their iPhone and the audio's all messed up, but their whole system was down. Apparently people were getting a blue screen of death because they're all running Windows. Amazing. Anyways, going further down, and this is where I put my tinfoil hat on, I saw this great quote here from Whitney Webb, and she goes, "For those interested in the recent news regarding Crowdstrike, consider that Crowdstrike is part of the Global Cyber Alliance, part of the World Economic Forum-led effort to force you to adopt digital ID for internet access in order to stop cyber crime. Microsoft is part of this too. See above article for more on the group pushing digital ID as a prerequisite for internet access and the push to end online privacy entirely. They include the GCA, the World Economic Forum Partnership Against Cybercrime, and several more." And remember this video here of our favorite villain, Klaus Schwab. So I'm going to play this. And, this was July 8th, 2020. So just kind of interesting to see that the pre-programming is happening and that they're so ahead of the curve. They've been talking about this for a while, that there's going to be cyber attacks.
Yeah, it's going to be a global cyber attack.
Exactly. So let's play this and then we can chat about it.
Still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
Amazing. So that's from the horse's mouth, and not the irony isn't lost on me that it says the Great Reset literally in the background. But hey, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
This guy's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, literally. But this does also lead into some of the pre-programming we see come out of the entertainment sphere. Remember the movie on Netflix that got everyone's panties in the bunch, which was executive produced by the Obamas, called Leave the World Behind, where a pandemic happens and everyone freaks out because there's no internet and no phones and everyone's wondering how to interact in the modern world. Well, yeah, maybe it's a good time to rewatch this because it seems like either we just had a test run, it was a bug, update, sorry we pushed a bad update, or was this, I don't know, I don't want to say planned or something, but hey, it's just very interesting that we've seen the pre-programming come out of media. We've seen the World Economic Forum talk about this. They've been talking about the cyber polygon attacks for years now. And then we get this bug that literally shuts off travel, finances, media, corporations, the government agencies, medical devices. And it's because everyone is using Windows. So, just getting some Bitcoiners' takes here before we talk about just how robust the Bitcoin network is and why you should be running a node. Here's Senator Cynthia Lummis, and she goes, do you know what form of currency hasn't been affected by a widespread cyber outage? Bitcoin. Bitcoin. And, going further, remember all of the FUD we've heard for forever about Bitcoin, but what if the internet goes out? Well, it seems like it almost did, and Bitcoin is still running, and it's pumping, and you just love to see it. But this is where we go into the conversation we've been having this week about you guys running nodes. Shouts out to Pierre Rochard, one of the OG goats out here, one of the OG memers. And he goes, one of the most important features of Bitcoin node software is the absence of automatic updates pushed by developers. Users have to voluntarily seek out and run new versions. And then he dunks on Ethereum, which you just love to see. And then I'm over here on Bitbo, well, really bitcoinuptime.com by Bitbo. And you can see Bitcoin uptime ticker. It's been up 99.98914894313% of the time since its inception on January 3rd, 2009. And the only time it was down was very early in Bitcoin's history. It's been running for, I forget the number. Here we go. Last downtime event was 4,148 days ago, which is a long time from here. And, just adding on to this, dunking on this a little bit. Shouts out to the boys over at Bitcoin Well, because they go, Bitcoin never goes down, obviously, but your favorite exchange might. Self-custody all your Bitcoin so you don't have to ask for permission, and hope the faulty centralized databases are operational just to use your Bitcoin. And then I'm going to leave you with a little bit of homework here. Shouts out to Bitstein. Again, an OG Bitcoiner. Him and Pierre Rochard basically made all the Bitcoin memes we love. And he goes, repeat after me. Trusted third parties are security holes. So go to Nakamoto Institute or just search on Google. Trusted third parties are security holes. Reread this. And this is why I wanted to bring this up today. Excuse me. Since this week we were talking about you guys running a node and you guys running the software yourself, hopefully on open source software. So you're not running Windows. And I mean, even on this point, you know, all the Linux users out there feel vindicated because Linux is running great. Windows is down. And you guys can shame me for using Apple all you want. But at least my Bitcoin node software is completely open source. It's running as designed. And this is the importance of you guys running a Bitcoin node. So the robustness of the Bitcoin network continues to propagate. Bitcoin is the most resilient asset, the most resilient network, and the most resilient software, period, ever created. And in the face of the all of the computers being bricked, the Bitcoin network is up. And furthermore, the irony isn't lost on me that, you know, some banks and financial services went down. I saw that Zelle and PayPal and all of the payment apps that people use were down. And remember what all the central bankers have been telling us forever. This is all about payments, guys. It's only about payments. It's only about making more efficient payments. And yet the Bitcoin network just keeps chugging along. And I think it's going to become, as we're seeing in the political sphere, as we're seeing in the corporate press narratives, we're going to see that in this internet age, as we, you know, potentially lead into cyber attacks, as it's been named and quoted, I think Bitcoin will be resilient enough to withstand this. So it's very interesting that we got this morning, considering all the crazy stuff we've seen in the last week or so. But hey, Bitcoin unaffected, Bitcoin doing what it does. And this is why I always say that the Bitcoin block height might be the most important number of Bitcoin in general. TikTok, next block. While the world and the internet and computers go down, all the developers out there and all of you guys running a node that ensure that Bitcoin stays decentralized, that it's using open source software, continues to run. And it's just so beautiful to be a Bitcoiner. Everyone else is panicking and we're like, hey, my monetary network is still working. What's going on with you guys? I thought you guys had the best financial system, period. And it goes down because of a bug. Amazing. This is also
projection.
Yeah, exactly. Iron law of projection. Also emphasizing the importance of not just updating your Bitcoin nodes right away. Give it some time because you never know if a bad bug does happen. And, it really just highlights the attack vector of centralized computing and people pushing updates that haven't been fully checked. And here we are. We saw an example of this.
Bro, they literally, how were they able to shut down? How are they able to shut down? Like, that is like, I already see news of Elon like just saying like, yo, we're taking this software off of our computers and stuff. Like, how are they able to shut down? Like, think about how nuts that is. That means that they could just they could just shut down everyone's computer like that, right? Like, that's crazy. Like whoever thought that was a good idea? Like, they're definitely gonna lose a shit ton of users after this. I don't think people realize it, and they're saying it's a bug. What if it was a hack? Like, that's a tremendous amount of power to give to a single company. And Opti, you absolutely nailed it. Like, this highlights one of beautiful features of Bitcoin, which of course the Bitcoin senator Cynthia Lummis mentioned. Like, try doing this with Bitcoin. And this is why you should be running your own node, right? There's a freaking node. There's a Bitcoin node literally orbiting planet Earth. Shout out to Blockstream, right? Like, good luck shutting us down, right? So this is why, it's so important to run a node. This is why decentralization, in my opinion, is the future. Someone said it in the chat. Decentralization means no honeypot. What a horrific idea. Let's just give this, this cybersecurity company all this control over administrative access over all these computers. And yeah, nothing's going to happen. We're in good hands. Like, oops. Like, to say the least. Anyways, Opti, I am going to rug us. We're going to do the meme review Monday. Hold on. We do have, I do have an IRL in should we do it? Should we do it? Man, bro, but back-to-back shows. Okay.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Let them throw tomatoes. We can wrap this up.
I do have an IRL with Ben Gagnon, CEO of Bitfarms, in about an hour and 20 minutes. So I do want to unplug a little bit. Streaming back to back is a little rough, but we'll do the meme review on Monday. I'll cut the news shorter so we can fit in the meme review. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed Simply Bitcoin this week. It's been a great week for us. We really appreciate the support. We are beyond excited for its lazy outsourcing. Do you guys not understand?
No, they're not talking about us. They're talking about the outage. They're talking about the computer outage.
Back-to-back
Wait,
shows,
hold on, guys. Nico triggered twice on the show. Count it. Twice on the show.
I literally have to hold. You have no IRL. I do have an IRL. It's at 3 p.m. It's literally in an hour and 20 minutes.
Guys, you don't get a meme review today, but you get Nico triggered in the chat twice. I think that's worth a meme review.
So guys, catch that interview. It's going to be awesome. Ben was just named the CEO of Bitfarms. Bitfarms, one of the largest Bitcoin publicly traded mining companies. I also consider him a dear friend. So really looking forward to that conversation. And of course, next week, Nico being a politician, promising memes but not delivering. So true. We will be back next week. We don't care about your health, Nico. We care about our memes. Wine came here to say this is bullish. Drink a soda, bro. Oh my God.
All right, just wrap it up. Wrap it up. Oscar
guys,
music, wrap it up.
We will be streaming next week from Nashville. It's going to be absolutely awesome. We're going to be having a great time. We just got the confirmation. Also, I think on Thursday of this week, we will be doing a Simply Bitcoin takeover of the Bitcoin 2024 conference news desk for about an hour or so. So really looking forward to that. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Hope to see a lot of you guys in Nashville next week, and it's gonna be awesome. All right, everybody, love you all. I deserve it. I deserve it. Bring all the hate. But anyways, I do have to prepare for this interview. Love you all. We'll see you guys next week, streaming live from Nashville, Tennessee. Peace out, everybody.
This episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.